What's going on, family? It's your man Tay Sweat here once again. I'm your host of the We Good podcast. All right. Now, a lot of you are gonna ask me, why do you call it the We Good podcast? Because we got a lot of vegans out there. We got a lot of non-vegans out there. We got a lot of just overall haters who are gonna ask us, where you get your protein? Well, isn't that diet a little nutrient deficient? And the first thing I'm gonna tell them is, we good. All right, we good. Don't worry about us. All right, worry about yourself. We got us. So today I want to talk about, with that being said, of course, I want to talk about the number one thing that I've been getting. Like, the number one question I get is how to transition correctly to veganism. Okay, because a lot of people are not doing it right. As a matter of fact, most of the vegans that I come by are not doing it right. And as a matter of fact, most vegans, or when they first come over to or transition to veganism, most of them are carbaholics. Okay, and what does that mean? Most of the vegans or vegetarians eat a lot of pasta. Most of them are eating a lot of breads and other comfort foods. Okay, these are comfort foods. Now, how do I know this is comfort food? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. I want to really get into that before we solely dive into how to do it. So first of all, we're going to start here. Okay, most vegans, when they first come into the lifestyle, they usually start vegetarian and then we go fully vegan. I went through the same thing. What happens is, when we first come over to the vegan lifestyle, most of us are carbaholics. And the reason why we're carbaholics is because many of us are craving some type of love or appreciation already. So veganism appeals to us because there's a lot of carbs in veganism. And as a matter of fact, most of us in this country are craving love, appreciation, things like that. And for those of you who don't know, love and appreciation, that emotion is basically in conjunction or in corresponds with sugar or carbs. So a lot of people don't realize that, yes, they're craving these carbs. They appeal, veganism appeals to them because of the high carbohydrate, intake. And it works for their emotional state because they need love or appreciation. Now, a lot of people aren't going to know this. As a matter of fact, most people aren't going to know about this because this is a holistic style or a holistic way of realizing what's going on when it comes to food addictions. This is not a Western approach. This is a more Eastern approach. So all of my people, before you get to comment about, I've never heard that, maybe you need to study something outside of the Western modalities. Okay, so I'll say that. That's where we'll leave that one. So we come into veganism, and I say we because I did it too. We come into veganism eating all of these carbohydrates. And in turn, what happens is we pretty much wash out we wash out the protein, we wash out the fats, and we end up at 80%, 90% carbohydrates. Okay, now I know most of you are going to say, what about the 80-10-10 rule? What about, all of these other, high carbohydrate approaches that the doctors are telling us to do that are inside of veganism? Well, first of all, they do have their place. However, most of us are eating processed carbohydrates, okay? You remember, I'm always going to tell you about each side. So I talk about keto, which is higher fat, low carb, and I talk about high carb, which they both have their places. And it's all about what you need as a person. First. Second, it's about how you apply them both, because they both can be done wrong and they both can be detrimental to your health when done wrong. Okay, so if we're eating a lot of processed carbs, breads, pastas, and then you're adding fats to those, so your fat ratio is too high, because most people, when they eat high carb, they're not eating super high carb and super low fat. They're going in with some of the oil, or if they're oil free, they like avocados. Okay, I don't know many people who don't like avocados. So they eat too many fats from nuts and seeds and avocados with these processed carbohydrates. What happens is the body goes, I have two forms of energy. Well, carbohydrates are a little bit easier for me to break down. I think I'll stick with those. So let's go ahead and just store these fats. Okay, so if you also are eating the processed carbohydrates in combination with the fats, you're setting yourself up for failure. And to be honest, this is why that video I made about why so many vegans fat, this is one of the reasons why that is happening. Okay, so that's number one reason why we want to watch what we're doing, and that's probably the number one thing that most vegans fall prey to. It's the high carbohydrate, processed carbohydrate diet. Now, here's the right way to do the processed or the non-processed carbohydrate approach. Okay, so for those of you who want to go vegan, you want to try out the higher carbs, what we want to do is we want to stick to vegetables, fruits, all right, the simple stuff for the most part. You can get some legumes that don't bother your stomach, of course, because some people do have digestive issues that don't allow them to process the grains and the beans or legumes the way normal, or I don't say normal, but someone who's more in a healthier state digestive wise, they could digest them a little bit better. Now, of course, you need to be soaking and sprouting your beans, your grains, your nuts, your seeds, all of that good stuff, which I'll get to the nuts and seeds when we go to another approach. But most people want to come into veganism as higher carb. Totally fine. You have to find out what works for you. So we go higher carb first. You notice you start to get a little Buddha belly. Uh-oh, maybe I'm eating too many carbs. Okay, maybe my body's not using all of them. Maybe we can shift some things down a little bit. Okay, it's all about tweaking. So this is how we do it. Fruits, vegetables, a couple legumes, get you some grains. We don't like processed grains though. Okay, what I mean by that when I say we, I mean most of humanity. Okay, we don't want the processed grains. Let's get some more, what most people are called alkaline grains. Okay, so if you want to get to the kamut, you want to get to the teff, you want to get to amaranth, quinoa, all spelled, you can get into some of those and may be okay. Now, I'll be honest with you, where I come from, this did not work for me because I came from I call it fat tay, okay? I came from a more overweight state. I was insulin resistant, so carbs blew me up basically, okay? So I was vegan and I was one of those fat vegans because I was starting to gain muscle. I had muscle, but I was starting to gain fat on top of my muscle and I didn't know why. And of course it was the grains, okay? And I was doing the cardio and the working out and everything was together, following my macros. Everything was where I needed to be, but the carbs were too high for me. So I started to store fat. Okay, so some of you are going to do this, and this, of course, where I want to take it over to my vegans or my people who want to come into the vegan lifestyle, but maybe you're already, holding on to some excess, stored body fat. Maybe you are in a position where you just want to improve your aesthetics. Maybe you're in a position where you may even want to compete. Well, this higher carbohydrate side isn't going to be necessarily optimal for you. And I have to watch my wording because some people actually can get the body they want aesthetically with the higher carbs. I have seen it. Now, that is a rare case because most people have to come over here. Okay, most people have to come to the higher fat. And the reason why we do higher fat, lower carb versus, high carb and anything else is because the higher fat is the next energy source that we would want to lean on. We don't want to. Me personally, from my experience and from my studies, okay, over 15 years of studies, I don't want to rely on protein. So for all of my people who are asking me, what about the higher protein? Why can't we go high protein, low carb, moderate to low fat? That does not work for many people internally. Because most people who are coming over to the vegan side, they're either here for the animals, the environment, or their health. And half of the people who come for the animals and the environment, they also want to do their health. So a high protein, low carb, low fat diet does not work. Because let's break it down for you, okay? If we're doing 2,000 calories and we go 80%, because most of these diets are extreme swings. You're going to either swing 80, 70, maybe 60% on a carb, or you may swing 80, 70, 60, even sometimes down to 50% coming from those calories in fats. But if you were to do 80, 70, or 60% of those calories from protein, that is a no-go. No thank you, no thank you, no thank you. It's harsh on the body, harsh on the organs, the kidneys, the liver. And this is just from my experience. This is real world, real time use, not just from me, but I've told you all over and over again, I've worked with hundreds, almost thousands of people over my career, and I've played with all of these ways. So the reason why I say this is because if you're going to do 2,000 calories, we have to know, for the most part, what needs to go up or down. So if carbs are not your friend and they're going down, something else has to go up. Now, of course, I don't suggest the protein go up. So what goes up? Fats. Okay, so this is where the high fat diet comes in. So for all of my vegans who are hating the high fat diet, and let me just say this. I want to talk more about keto. A lot of the vegans, especially, they hate the keto diet because they don't know about the keto diet. What they know the keto diet to be is a high meat, high bacon, high, animal fat based diet. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the doctors who come out and say, hey, the keto diet is the worst diet to be on. It increases mortality. It, does all this other stuff, cholesterol, high blood pressure, Guess what? They're talking about a meat-based keto diet. Okay? And the reason why I can almost let's just use our common sense. I can almost sit here and tell you just common sense wise that if I was to feed you avocados, broccoli, and many other greens and veggies, you would be okay. As a matter of fact, you'd thrive. Okay, that's totally fine. Okay, cabbage, avocados, get you some olives in there, bunch of veggies, maybe a few nuts and seeds here and there, soaked nuts and seeds. Okay, we got to sprout those. But just eating that, there is no heart disease coming from that. There is no high blood pressure, high cholesterol. That is not what we're dealing with here. And I can almost guarantee you none of these studies you see about keto are being done on people who are doing a plant-based keto diet. These are happening to people who are doing carnivore, where they eat only meat. Okay, now, I'm not against carnivore. And I know you're like, wait a minute, you're the vegan trainer. Why are you saying that? I'm not against carnivore simply because I know that there are a group of people out there who have ancestors who had to eat only meat for hundreds of years. Okay? Now, some of these people may be what you consider, if you look back, I don't know, maybe a couple of thousands of years ago. Some of these people may be coming from the Caucasus Mountains. Some of these people may be what you would consider to be more of a Caucasian background. Now, that doesn't mean all Caucasians ate only meat, but there was a group during the Ice Age that they didn't get vegetables. Vegetables didn't grow. And, a lot of people, of course, they don't think about this, but yes, there are some people who have a lineage of people who ate like that for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, and it went on. And that's kind of where the culture comes from. A lot of people don't know about that culture or about that approach and why many people, especially the Caucasian group of people, why they thrive. A lot of them are thriving and they feel good. They're like, oh my God, I feel great on the all meat diet. And it's basically showing and proving that, hey, that's right, because you may have that lineage that originated from that area. And then when you come over to more of a tropical person, and it's gonna be multiple races, and I personally think we all come from the same area. It's just about who went through what for extended a period of time. That's how I feel. So yes, I don't care if you're white, black, or candy stripe. For the most part, I think we all came from the same area, and then we spread. We kind of went out. I somewhat agree with that. There's some other parts in there that I won't talk about right now, but I do think that based on where you were and what your lineage was eating for an extended period of time, I do think that it has a big impact on how you adjust to the diet that you're eating now. Okay, so now this does not mean that you have to go get a blood type, test and follow a blood diet, because I don't really agree with that either. Because I think it's skewed. I'll say that. I think it's skewed. Anyway, let's talk about the keto diet a little bit more, or the high fat approach, which some people may call the primal approach. This approach for me has been huge because carbs blow me up. So when I'm talking about aesthetics, I'm not talking about anything else. If we're talking about aesthetics, carbs don't do me well. I'll just be honest. Now, I, of course, want aesthetics and internal health. So what I do is I cycle between a keto style diet and a higher carb diet so I can get some fruits in there, because I do agree that fruits have their place, okay? Especially if you eat some of the more indigenous fruits, because many of these fruits are hybrids, and many of these fruits don't do our bodies as well as we think they do. I'll say that, okay? So what we'll get into is basically what I do, and then what I suggest a lot of people who have issues with carbohydrates do. So for me personally, right now I'm doing about 4 to 5 days in a keto style diet, or even just fasting, because fasting is essentially a keto style diet. People don't realize that, because you get into ketosis while you're fasting. That's all keto is, for those of you who don't know. Okay, keto is, when we talk about the state of nutritional ketosis, that just literally means your body is using fat for fuel. Okay, you're producing ketones because your body is burning fat for fuel. That's it. So when you fast or you go without food for an extended period of time, your body starts to feast on stored fat, which in turn you start to produce ketones. Okay, that's all we're talking about here. So that kind of hopefully clears a lot of this stuff up for my vegans who are anti-keto, and oh my God, no. We can get into ketosis many ways. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm still eating higher carbs than the traditional keto diet calls for, and I stay in ketosis. Okay, most people do. So for me, I do about 4 or 5 days keto. I'm good. Okay, I stay under 200 grams of carbs, and I know people are like, "You doing keto on 200 grams of carbs?" Yes. Okay. Now this is because my carbs are coming from fruits, vegetables, things like that. So I might have a handful of berries, I might eat a whole pan of broccoli, I might eat a whole head of cabbage, a couple avocados, and some olives. Good. Okay, that was a lot of carbs, quote unquote, but they were all veggie and what we call, or what's known to be called, slower carbohydrate foods. Now, of course, there's a lot of fiber there. It buffers the insulin response, but I'm still eating over that 50 grams of carb that most people think you have to eat to stay in ketosis. Okay, I'm not a big fan of that, because it does cut out a lot of vegetables and cut out some of the other things that I think we should be eating. So that's pretty much how I do it. And then twice a week I'll come out and I'll eat a higher fruit or a higher carbohydrate diet. And let's just be honest, this is just for me personally. This is just my sanity, okay? Because a lot of people think these YouTubers and Instagrammers, you think we just, eat healthy all the time. Like, oh my God, he's perfect. Absolutely not. I have cravings. I want some cake every now and then. I may want, I want some sugar. I want some of those things. I'm going to go out and eat it. And I really think that you can live your life in this fashion. And is this ideal? Absolutely not. Okay. If you want to be perfect, then you might need to cut out that sugar. You might need to cut out those, veggie burgers, with the breading and all that other stuff. Maybe. But me personally, I like French fries and veggie burgers and pizza and some of these other things. So I kind of, because I'm in a state right now that I'm okay in, and of course I'm slowly cutting down for my honeymoon, but for the most part, I like to enjoy life. I still like to go out and have a little, fun. I still like to go out and have a piece of cake or some cookies, or, I still like that. And this is what I try to teach a lot of people, that once you get to a certain point, you can do that. All right. Most of you all are eating, a lot of people are eating what they want to eat right now. Like literally, they're eating whatever they want. Veggie burger, vegans too, they're eating whatever they want. Veggie burgers with donuts on, as the bun, and French fries topped with vegan queso cheese and all this other crap. They're eating whatever they want, and they're not really gaining any more weight. They might have initially, but they're eating whatever they want and they're staying the same size. Why is that? Because the body does have a set point. So just like the body has a set point when you're out of shape, why not take a couple months to go down, get in shape, get right where you want to be. And then once you're in shape, we can slowly get back to that same diet, and you can kind of eat what you want and have some fun, and you can have the body you want. This is the key that I teach a lot of my clients. And this is something that I tell them, look, just give me 3 to 6 months, depending on where you are. Give me 3 to 6 months to just lock it down and don't do anything out of pocket, outside of what I teach you to do inside the program. Let's just do that for 3 to 6 months. Let's get to that body, and then I'll reverse you and show you how to eat those favorite foods that you like every week, 2-3 times a day during, each week, and still maintain that body. It's possible. So this is something that I do for myself personally. I'm still leaning out, and I still have, my veggie burgers and my pizza and my, vegan cookies every week. Okay. Now, like I said, some of you are not going to agree with that, and that's fine. This is my life. So I know many people out there want to be able to do that as well. So that's why I'm talking about this. So it's just all about tweaking and changing some things. This is what's considered a cyclical ketogenic diet. Many people don't like it. Most people want to go keto for the rest of their life. Hey, stay keto, and this is why you get all these keto desserts. I'm not doing that. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not doing a keto burger. I'm not doing keto pizza. I'm not doing a keto, what is that? They have like these keto, like soft, spongy, like brownies or something. I'm not doing that. Okay. There's a few things that I'll do, a few keto replacements because it fits my macros, like, certain keto, they call them fat bombs. I'll do the fat bombs. But for the most part, if I'm going to eat a cake, I'm just going to plan to eat a cake, a real cake, okay? It's going to be vegan, but it's going to have some sugar in it. It's going to be a real cake, and I'm going to enjoy that cake. And then I'll get back to my keto diet, okay? So this is something, and now, why do I do this? Because history tells us that this has gone on for thousands of years. Nobody ever stayed, based on what I've researched, okay? Now, I have to always say this. There's always going to be somebody with some conflicting, evidence, or, oh, well, that's not... Okay, this is why doctors are still arguing. They can't figure it out. And, some of the highest doctors in the world still can't figure out who's right. So, take that with a grain of salt. Based on the research that I've done and the studies that I've looked at, majority, if not all, indigenous people cycled through different things or different states. So they might have done a whole season of a high-fat, low-carb diet. And that could be because it's wintertime, nothing's really growing. They have to eat animals, or they have to eat some fat. Okay, I'm not saying to eat animals, I don't. But the higher fat, it holds true. And they might have, because nuts and stuff, they last a lot longer. So they might have ate nuts and seeds when vegetables and, high fruits or high-carb fruits didn't grow. Okay, so it's cold, we still got nuts and seeds. Let's eat those, okay? That's going to give us what we need. We're good to go. So that's kind of something that history says. There was a high-fat, low-carb stage, and then during like a small time between, usually it's between winter and spring, there's a fasting time. Now, you can see this in some of your religions, of course, like Lent, with the 40-day, 40-night. That's supposed to be a real long fast. So a lot of these people, a lot of these things definitely have been done. So it's just all about what you're following and what you're trying to do. So that's just my spiel on that, okay? A lot of people may agree, a lot of people may not agree. So then we come out of course, that fasting period, and we get ready for spring, summer, and then that's when we get the fruits, the high carbs. Now, there are other ways of doing it too, where it's not just seasonal. I've seen studies or cases where they might do it weekly or daily sometimes, and that's working for a lot of people now. They call it carb backloading. So there's a lot of ways that you can tweak this thing, but however, I think everybody, for the most part, I think everybody can benefit from a few lower carb days and maybe even some fasting days. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go out on a limb. I said it, yes. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think everybody could benefit from a few fasting days. I don't care how you do it. Once a week, once a month. But I think everybody can benefit from fasting. Why? Because first of all, we are hyper, we eat a lot of food in this country. And many people don't give the body any breaks. As a matter of fact, I know people who wake up in the middle of the night to go eat. So the digestive system is always churning. This is what's aging a lot of people. Okay, people don't know that. This is what's wholeheartedly is what's aging a lot of people. So I think those 3 things, if you cycle them out in some kind of way, I don't care how, seasonal, weekly, monthly, if you cycle them in, high fat, low carb, high carb, low fat, fasting, and I think cycling them out correctly. Of course, you got to learn how to do this on your own, or you got to go hire somebody who knows how to do that. But I think doing some cyclical stuff like that really benefits a lot of people, and it can, not just health-wise, but I think it'll benefit internally, like big time. Okay, internally. And when I say health-wise, I mean externally, abs and all that stuff. But health-wise internally and health-wise externally, I think they benefit both. Just to give some of you a little, I guess this gives you a little reference of how this could work for you and how well it works as we age. If you go look at, this is my baby, Miss Tina Turner. Okay, not the real Tina Turner, but of course Angela Bassett is who I'm talking about. If you look at Angela Bassett, you look at her body, that lady's almost 60, if not 60 already. I don't know how old she is, but she's close to 60. She's between like 57, 56, and 60. And that lady, she looks good. Okay, she looks good. As a matter of fact, I'd go there. Okay, I'd go there with that lady. As an older woman, that lady looks that good. Seriously. But I'm just keeping it real. Okay, we gotta keep it real with the family. But basically, what I'm saying is, I mentioned her because if you watch one of the interviews she did, she basically gave everything that she was doing, like food-wise. And she's like, look, I do 4 days where it's, I believe she said she did more days of like the lower carb, more of a higher fat. And she actually came out, made me tear up a little bit. She actually came out and said she doesn't do veganism anymore because she added a little fish back, which I'm not messed up with that, okay? Because a lot of your favorite doctors out there, I'm not gonna say any names, but I know some very famous doctors out there who are vegan but actually added fish in once in a while. But I'm not gonna say anything, all right? That's not for me to tell. But I know some secrets, all right? I run in these circles too, so I know. Anyway, but she has a little fish, but she does a higher fat, lower carb cycle for 4 days, and she has a little fish in those cycles. And then for the other 2, maybe even 3 days, she does a higher carb where she eats more fruits, and she kind of mixes in some other things, so she gets that higher carb cycle. And she's been doing that for a long time. So if Angela Bassett is making that thing look good, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing some real world stuff out there, okay? Because I know a lot of people like to use studies and all of this, well, what does the research say? And I said, well, how long has that research been? What study goes past like 10 years usually, okay? Some of them might go 20. Angela Bassett's 60, okay? Almost 60. And for her to be doing something, and that she's been doing that, I know, since like 35, 40. So we're looking at 25 plus years. Okay, so this is just my reasoning behind a lot of stuff. I like real world evidence because there's a lot of stuff that happens to me and a lot of my clients that studies say the opposite. Like soy is good for you, and then I eat a bunch of soy, or not even a bunch. I eat a little soy, and then my penis doesn't work, or like seriously though, like that happens to a lot of people. Now, I'm not necessarily just saying it for me. I'm saying I have clients, okay? And this is where the real world research comes in, who eats a lot of soy, but because they had hormonal issues, okay, going in, when they eat the soy, it shoots up their estrogen, and guess what? It shuts off their ability to get an erection, okay? Now, I'm not going to get too deep into that, all right? We'll leave that one alone. But I have had multiple cases of clients, of that happening to clients. It's not just something that happened to 1 or 2, more than 10, as a matter of fact. And then even on the other side with the ladies, I've had a lot of women. We work on some, things for their menstrual cycle, so we get it from being super, painful. A lot of women was having 7 to 14 day menstrual cycles with a lot of, heavy bleeding. And then we ate the right stuff, We got the menstrual cycle down to 3 days. Very little bleeding, no pain, no cramps, no back pain from the kidney issues. And guess what? When most of them would say, hey, can I go back to eating some of the things, now that we're fixed, can I go back and eat some of those things that we used to eat? I say, yeah, let's add it in slowly so we know which one causes what. That's how you do it. For anybody who's trying to go back to a diet, slowly add things back in. Don't just go and jump all the way back in. So we add certain things, okay? So the first thing I told them to add so that we could make sure, and as a matter of fact, I was kind of already knowing what to add back in, that I knew what was going to mess it up. So I would tell them, okay, let's add soy back in first. Tempeh, tempeh, tofu. Let's add that back in and see how your body. Now, not everybody had an issue with it, but I'd say out of 350 clients, 50 of them got away with it. They could eat the soy and it didn't bother them. Now, the other 300, and it's actually more than that, but I'm just giving you a number. The other 300, yeah, their menstrual cycle got back worse. Their menstrual cycle probably went back up to about 7 days. They may have gotten cramps again. Some of them broke out. So these are some of the things that I noticed. This is just me. I'm just one man, okay? So I do realize there's plenty of studies out there, but guess what? Do I continue to feed people something because the studies are saying, one thing? Do I continue to feed someone that's hurting from eating it? Do I continue to feed them that? Because the study says this though. Don't worry. Oh, don't you worry about that pain. It's not the soy. The study said the soy doesn't do that to you. And you just keep eating it. Okay, you're hurting. All right. You're hurting yourself trying to eat because you're paying attention to the study. We listen to the body, okay? Listen to the body. The body trumps all. And as a matter of fact, I listen to the body over studies because guess what? The body can't be paid off, but the studies can, okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. The body can't be paid off, but the studies can. So, with that being said, once again, this is kind of how I do things. It's all about real world evidence, okay? So, you want to go vegan, you want to go, you want to go to a plant-based lifestyle. First of all, you need to pick which one works for you, okay? Which one do you think, or what are you trying to do? You want to lose fat? Or you want to gain muscle? You want to work on just solely doing maybe a health approach, just internal health? Or do you want to focus on aesthetics? Pick one, decide where you want to start, carb or fats, high fat, low carb. Some people can even get away with doing a balanced approach, okay? I've seen that happen too. Not everybody can, but see what you want to do. I'm going to suggest, of course, you add in some working out. Just get a little, not everybody has to do a bunch of crazy workouts, but if we're trying to dig into a deficit or we're trying to dig into something that has happened from a lifetime of eating, then maybe you do need to add in a lot of, working out. But add in some working out and then slowly transition from there. So what I do is I take maybe, 2 things out a month. Okay, this is how I transition. So I took red meat out, pork and beef. And then the next one, I took out chicken and turkey. So I was eating fish for a while. Actually, I ate fish. That was the last thing I ate. Cheese and eggs was the next 2 that I took out. And I would take it down slowly, okay? And this process took me 2 years. 2 years. Now, some people can go cold turkey and some cannot. But this is how I transitioned, okay? So I'm going. So for a while, for like 8 months, I ate fish only. I was eating a bunch of salmon. That's all I ate. I would send who is now my fiance, I would send her pictures of like pounds of salmon on the stove. And I would just, I say, hey, this is all I'm eating. Salmon and veggies, salmon and veggies, salmon and veggies. And after a while, I got tired of the salmon. And I was like, hey, I'm done. And I remember we went to a place, I don't remember where it was, but I went to a place and I had something that had cheese on it. And I got so sick. And that's when I slammed it down right there. I said, nope, I'm done. I'm going fully vegan. I'm not going back. I'm not eating any of this. Because we're not supposed to eat something that makes us sick after you let something go and then you come back and eat it, if it makes you sick, you know you're not supposed to eat that. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it real. If it makes you feel bad when you go back and eat it, you know it's not supposed to be in your diet. How do I know this? Because I haven't eaten apples in I don't know how long, but I can go back and eat an apple and it's not gonna make me sick, okay? I haven't eaten, when I was eating that way, I hadn't eaten a watermelon in I don't know how long. But guess what? When I ate watermelon again, I felt amazing. I didn't get sick. So this is how I knew that cheese and a lot of these other meats and things like that, even organic, grass-fed, grass-finished, I still got sick. And guess what? I knew I wasn't supposed to be eating those things because what I'm supposed to eat does not make me sick. I don't care how long I go without it. So that was kind of my thing. So I suggest you all, just to kind of wrap it up, just take it slow and, eliminate one thing at a time so that you don't go back. Because that's what I notice a lot of people, they go all at once and then they relapse. Okay, so we don't want to relapse. We want something that's going to last and something that's going to be sustainable. So if you really want to come to this lifestyle, make sure it's balanced. Don't be a carboholic. Do not eat a bunch of, oh, I'm vegan and I eat pasta, bread, and noodles. It's crazy. Okay, do not be that person because those are the people who, I tried the vegan diet and I got sick. Well, what did you eat? Pasta. That's it. They ate a lot of pasta and bread. It's vegan, but there's no nutrients there. You got to get your fruits. You got to get some vegetables in. And for those of you who are asking me, well, how are you talking about fruits if you're keto? There are fatty fruits, okay? Like ackee for my people in Jamaica or around the equator. Things like jackfruit actually is another fruit you can eat on a keto diet. Avocado is a fruit. Olive is a fruit. All right? So don't do that. Okay, all fruits are not sweet. All fruits are not something that's going to spike your insulin. So I want you to know that you can still, and as a matter of fact, you can do berries and melons as well. You just have to watch the macros. That's it. Okay, I actually have berries planned in some of my clients' programs. So it's possible, and we're getting results. Okay, we're getting the results, and they're in ketosis. It's fine. So there's a way to do all of this stuff. The long story short is study, 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 study. If you don't want to study, get somebody who has studied to help you, okay? Now, sometimes that costs money. Okay, so sometimes you might have to hire somebody like me, and that's okay. Or sometimes you may have to just come to somebody like me, come on Instagram and ask me, what books do you suggest? I got plenty of books over here. I'll throw about 10 different books at you and tell you, hey, read all of these, okay? If you have the time and no money, then you should be a book reader, okay? This is how I break everything down. This is how I break everything down. When it comes to getting better at something, whether it's getting better at your diet and lifestyle and health, or getting better at, financials, getting more money, or getting better at investing, or getting better at, a relationship, okay? A lot of you need some relationship help. That's okay. We ain't gonna go there. Whatever it is, when it comes to getting better at something, you got two options. Most people have more time than they have money. For you, you need to go study at whatever that is, okay? So if you want to get better in health, you need to read books and get better at health. That's what you do. If you are somebody who wants to get better at a relationship, you want to be a better husband, a better wife, you want to know how to cope with emotions, you want to know how to communicate a little bit more. That was my thing. You need to either read, okay, and study or watch some videos or something, okay? These are for my people who have time and not enough money. You want to get better at finances, you need to read about financials, get Dave Ramsey's book, get Grant Cardone's book. These are some of the financial people. Get those books. You need to read. You need to take courses. All of that good stuff. Now, some of you are going to say, you know what, Tay? I'm just busy, man. I don't have any time. I'm super busy. I don't have time to read those books. Your average book, takes about 10 hours to read. I don't have 10 hours, okay? And I need to get this going now. So if you give me 10 books and it's 10 hours a book, that's 100 hours. I don't have 100 hours to read. I don't have that time. And as a matter of fact, 100 hours could take me years to read, to read through the stuff. So for you, normally when people have, or when people don't have a lot of time on their hands, they have money. It's because they're working a lot. They have money. So what you need to do is you need to go hire somebody for the health. You need to go hire somebody like me. Okay, I'll work with you if you want to get into this thing and do it right. You need to hire somebody who can help you with your health. Somebody who can take away all the guesswork, slide you a program and say, here's what you do. Have the coaching, because all my clients get walkie-talkie access to me. Have that walkie-talkie access, have that coaching, have that, that support. And while you still work your job and do what you have to do and your family. If it's something, if you're looking to get better with relationship, you need to go hire a relationship coach. Somebody who has read all the books that you need to read, but can just teach you or give you a synopsis of all the littles, the details of what they read in that book. If you need help with financials, you need to hire somebody that's a coach with financial betterment. That's how this thing works. Now, I got a lot of people, or I got some people who are going to hit me up and say, well, Tay, those are great explanations, but I don't have time or money. You, my friend, need to figure your life out, because that is a bad position to be in. If you don't have time or money, you are in trouble. Seriously. So we need to work on something else. You just need to figure out how to manage, either you're mismanaging your money or you're mismanaging your time. Okay? So that's what I'm going to suggest for you, is to get that part together first. Before you can get anything else together, you got to realize which one are you mismanaging, if not both. So this is how I got better. This is how I lifted myself out of poverty, okay? I picked myself up out of poverty because I managed my time and my money, because I didn't have money, but I used my time to read, to get money, to take the money to buy coaches. That's exactly what I did. So you just have to know which one it is you need to do first, but eventually you should be doing both. I'll be honest with you. Eventually you should take what you've learned and read and then go hire a coach, because then you know how to assess whether or not this coach is good enough. Because if you're smarter than the coach, then you probably need to get on out of there. So that's it for my rant. I'm not gonna rant too much, but you gotta get your time together, okay? Time and money, those are two precious qualities, and time is more important than money. So I'm usually willing to give away some money to save some time, because you can't get that back, okay? So outside of that, I hope everybody enjoyed this full in-depth podcast, and I'm sure I didn't touch on something. Maybe we'll do a part 2. I don't know. If you have any questions, hit me up, okay? Go to my Instagram, DM me. I'll answer back, okay? I'm one of the people who will answer back. I don't care how busy I am, okay? I will answer your DMs back, all right? So hit me up. I am the Vegan Trainer is my Instagram page. Hit me up on DM if you have any other questions, or if you just want me to talk something, if you have a topic you want to hear me talk about on the podcast, hit me up, okay? For those of you who are going to be watching this on YouTube, comment below. Hit me up. Let me know what I can, talk about. What topics you want to hear. Now, outside of that, I want everybody to know that my name is Tay Sweat. All right? I go by the Vegan Trainer, if you don't know already. And I'm your host of the We Good podcast. All right? So, for those of you on YouTube, of course, you got to subscribe. All right? Hit me up. Subscribe. Comment, do all of that good stuff. For my people on the podcast, of course, I want you to go over to Instagram and hit me up there if you have any questions. Outside of that, if anybody asks you, what are you doing in your vegan diet? Isn't that, not so healthy for you? I want you to look back at them and you tell them, we good. Don't worry about me, baby. All right. And then you can also turn around and tell them, look, you too have the right to eat yourself to death or to life. Choice is yours, all right? But just know, we good. We good. All right? That's my time for the day. I love you all. Everybody have a great day. Once again, if you have any questions, hit me up. Peace.